talking about their childhood, talking about their past, talking about what's really fucking them up in life. It's not really any of that. All of that is just what they're pointing to so that they can externalize the pain and not have to look inward at themselves.
Well, I mean, I think that again, I think that this might be a reflection of your individual experiences. And if I'm going to be honest, I'm not entirely convinced that you were involved with like Antifa. I think you may have been involved with something. I'm not questioning anything that you're saying in terms of like your experience, but I'm not entirely convinced you were involved in Antifa. And I want to bring up one point specifically, and I want to kind of get your reaction to it. And I have to do this because I was asked to do this by a member of my community when he found out I was having you on. So I'm going to go back up to your YouTube channel right here. And I just want to scroll down a little ways. And I want to talk to you about this video right here, the one that says you got had, fake ex-Antifa whistleblower speaks out. And I want to show you this one too, where you're also talking about the same whistleblower. Now, the problem is that the person that was on, Jesse Kelly, that's the former Antifa, he's a member of my community. And I've actually talked to him on multiple occasions. And I was the one that connected him with Jesse Kelly's producer. And so
I want to know about this. Like,
well, yeah.
This
is what I'm saying is like, I know for absolute certainty that he is a former member of Antifa. I also know for absolute certainty that these two people, because these are two different people that you have on the thumbnail here. This was a talking point that was circulating on social media that these were the same person. They're not the same person at all. And so I say this because obviously the very real ex-Antifa member that is in my community, like I know he's real and other people in the community know he's real, but you did a couple videos about how he was fake.
Like, if that's the case, that's actually kind of neat because I've been wondering about this guy the whole time because I saw the pictures and the video come out and I was just like, what the fuck is Fox News doing? So if there's credibility that this guy's real, because the whole time he's speaking out, I'm like, he's saying the right things. Holy shit, he knows. He's saying everything right. And then it was like somebody like stabbed me in the heart the next day when I saw that because I was like, come on. Because what I've been trying to do with my channel, I just want former Antifa members to speak out. It don't matter if you're a little minnow like me, if you were some sort of leader, black bloc. I'm just trying to create a space to where former members can come to run their mouth because at that point, if enough people get together, then it's harder to fight back against. Just like the detransitioners. People were like, they're, they don't exist. They're not this. They're not real. They're fascist. And then when a bunch of them came out, people shut the fuck up. So I've been trying to do that with ex-Antifa. So if that guy's real and he's legitimate, then dude, if you're listening to this, I owe you a fucking apology.
But I guess, hey, and I really do appreciate that. And I'm sure he's going to appreciate that as well. But I guess my question is like, what was it about it that made you think that he was fake?
I think just the video, it almost sounded like the guy in the other video. If it's a separate guy, I'll go with that because I'm not dismissing you or calling me a liar here. The voices sounded so similar. The line seemed so similar. Like, there's instances where the feds will have a bunch of like seemingly fake white supremacists pile out of the back of the U-Haul van and they're all wearing their white shirts and their gaiters. After seeing that other video, that's what that guy registered as to me. And that's honestly what I thought. And I saw it everywhere. Because at first I was like, no, they're just mad that Gabriel Nadales went on or whatever. And then I clicked on it and I was just like, what the hell? Because like, again, I wanted that to be real. So if that's real, and then it's real. That's very interesting. Yeah, well, it's definitely 100% real, but I wondered if you had any substantive concerns with what he said, because again, it seems to me like you have some experience, and I'm not even questioning that you may have been around like far left subcultures. I'm just questioning, was there some disagreement where you were like, he said that thing and that doesn't ring true for me? No, everything he said was right. It was just the other video. I was just like, how are you going to be in the cartels and Antifa? I'm sitting here talking about how I believe the two are connected, but even I was just like, there's no possible way that this guy was both. But no, as far as everything he said, that's what got me wondering even more. I was just like, does that mean they're having people going in and, watching Antifa, studying Antifa just so they can come on TV and say the perfect thing? Nothing he said was wrong to me. Cool. All right. Fair enough. So I guess I'm still wondering though, what do you mean when you say you were a former Antifa member? Because, and I understand that it might be tough to put definition around like Antifa as a group, but like you say you're a former Antifa, you say you want to talk to former Antifa, like what does that actually mean? And if you need to just like brainstorm that's totally fine. I'm not expecting like perfect answer or anything. No. And honestly, I appreciate the grilling today because I feel like I've never gotten grilled before, especially. I don't mean it to be like a grilling. I have questions, okay? there's people in the comments that are like, he's a plant. He's never been a part of this. So it's
Wow,
like,
don't read the comments. Don't worry about the people say all
I
sorts
have
of
to
crazy
stop
shit
that.
about me.
I have to stop
Yeah.
that. So many
You should see some of the things people say about me. Like, welcome to the internet, bro. Like, it's a great time. Don't read the comments. Just like we're just having a chat here.
Yeah, no stress. No, but like for me, you know, they accepted anybody into the ranks. They're like, if you come, you're dressed in black, you bring your weapons, you bring your flag, you're buying us milk, you're bringing us water, you're bringing us pizza, you're bringing us snacks. I'm tagging up the neighborhood, ACAB 1312. Like, you know, I'm listening to all this like fuck Nazi communist music, all this nasty shit, fuck the police. And as far as I'm concerned, if I'm acting, behaving, and dressing that way, and you've embraced me as one of your own, then when I come out and speak about it years and years later, you don't get to say I wasn't one of you at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I didn't get in as deep as the others, and thank God for that. But I did a lot, and I saw a lot, and I met a lot of people, and I've seen things that will completely scar me. So yeah, I wasn't as big as someone like Chandler or a lot of these black bloc types, but I wore the flag. I knew the lingo. I had the colors. I had my friends. We called each other Antifa every fucking day, day in and day out. This is what we were fighting for. This is the group that we're going to hedge all our bets on. So for me, I was Antifa, and I declared it. And that declaration, telling people that, it brought me closer to other people. I got to see more. I got to be invited into certain spaces that I wouldn't have been in otherwise. Mm-hmm. So if they considered me to have been one of them back then as far as I'm concerned, that title's never left. And I'm going to throw that title back in their faces.
All right. I guess like, so how do you identify when someone is former Antifa then? Like if someone comes to you and says, I am former Antifa, like how do you know that that's real or like what criteria do you put around it to say, yes, this person is real versus yes, this person is fake? Because listen, man, on the internet, and I've seen this over and over again, you have a lot of people making a lot of claims that are not real. Like I mean, I'll give you an example. Like I got internet famous in 2020 when I was the knitting Democrat that left the left. And that was a real thing for me. I actually was a Democrat. I was never far left, but I was a Democrat for 20 years. And I did have a process of waking up where I realized my side has gone crazy. And I wrote an article on the internet and it accidentally went viral and got the attention of a lot of people. And so I was the knitting Democrat that left the left. And that was a real thing for me. I actually was a Democrat. I was never far left, but I was a Democrat for 20 years. And I did have a process of waking up where I realized my side has gone crazy. And I wrote an article on the internet and it accidentally went viral and got the attention of a lot of people. And so I was the knitting Democrat that left the left. When I had that experience, there were also all sorts of other people, and this was during an election year, so there was a lot of like eyes on the situation. And one of the things that the Republican Party loves more than any other thing is someone who's left the left. They will like bend over backwards for you. They will love bomb you. They will bring you on every single show if you say you left the left. We see this happen literally every single presidential election cycle, where there's always a group of people that I left the left because I think the Democrats are crazy. Most of them are lying. Most of them were never actually on the left. And many of them, and I've just learned this from experience over the years, actually were like never involved at all. And they're just saying that they were because it is a very, very easy way to get famous on the internet. And so like, I think that people have to have, and I'm telling you this story because I didn't know that at the time. I had like, it took me years to figure this out. But like, I think that people have to have discernment that when it comes to like content on the internet, people will say almost anything to be famous. People will do almost anything to be famous. And so I think that people who are putting themselves out there, and I think that you are on a genuine search for truth, and I think you're figuring it out, but I think that you are going to end up encountering people who say they were former Antifa that really have no fucking idea. So how do you discern between like what's real and what's fake? And maybe you're still figuring it out, and maybe that's totally fine.
Honestly, yeah, because after 2 years of doing this, like I said, the first former Antifa member that I met in person, what taught me it was real for him was his bloodlust, his hatred for Antifa, how much they hurt him and how much he wanted to hurt them back. That was something you couldn't fake.
Well, tell me more about that. That sounds interesting.
They fucked him up. So, I told you I got a call from him that he said he thought he murdered somebody. So he apparently beat up an active Antifa member with his fist, bloody to a pulp, downtown Eugene. And from what he told me, what set him over the edge was essentially this person was bragging about molesting a 14-year-old. And this just sent him off the edge. Now, I guess he knew this guy, and he had slept with this guy's mother. So what the response to this guy was when he was like, what the fuck are you saying about this 14-year-old girl? Is he's like, well, you're a granny chaser. What makes what I do not so different?
Okay.
And that triggered the fuck out of him because of, there's other members in Antifa he had issues with who they did wind up being pedophiles. So there's that was a very severe trigger for him. And just the hatred and the anger that I heard from him, you couldn't bullshit that. Brother Scrub, he's a guy, that's his anonymous name on my channel. He's the first ex-Antifa member that I've interviewed, and it's like gone up and it's there. Talking with that dude, he's still an anarchist at heart. He seems to skew, if you talk to him, he's a little more of a constitutionalist, but he claims to be an anarchist, and you listen to his story and it's like, dude, you're like half the guys that I knew out there. So there's something there that can't be faked. The only other couple of people who were in Antifa I've talked to were from the UK, and it was just a couple of emails, and they wouldn't even talk to me because they were so paranoid. So to honestly answer that, I'm still going to have to figure out that type of discernment because, like I said, I want to be the guy who's able to interview ex-Antifa members. Come on, tell your story, educate me, educate the public. Let's get a little more knowledge out there. But I haven't had much experience with these people because these people are terrified. They're either guilty or they're terrified, and that makes finding them extremely difficult. And when you do find them, like I said, most of the time you can't get them to talk, but there's still that regret and that fear and the I wish I could speak, especially with the UK. It's just like, I can imagine you'd probably be arrested for speaking out against this.
Yeah.
So it's like,
the UK is a totally different beast than the US, and the UK, and I would put France in this category as well. I would put Australia and New Zealand in this category. I would even put Canada in this category to a certain extent. They are way worse off right now than the United States. They're way farther along on like their de-evolution, and I think that the far left in those countries is more powerful and more organized and quite frankly more violent than they are here. And I think it's something that we can look to as like, here's what's coming to us if we don't actually get this problem under control.
Exactly. Which is why I think more former members need to speak out, because there wasn't nobody speaking out over there. You know what really brings down a cult? People who were a part of the cult to some degree. It's like, nobody remembers half of the names of the people who went and investigated Scientologists, but we all remember Leah Remy, right? Like the people who escaped the cult, those are the biggest sledgehammers to the movement that we can possibly get. So it's like, kind of like you point out, there's a lot of things I'm uneducated on this issue, and I spent 2 years in it. And that means, like, I'm so obsessed with this time, I want to learn more about it, but that means I need to find more people like me. But I feel like people like me are scared to step out because maybe they think there's no forgiveness, there's no love on the other side. Like you said, there's a lot of love bombing when you say I've left the left and all that, but at the same time, like, I've also never felt this much love in my entire life. Like, people want to hear that people are willing to walk away from this, no matter what they're involved with. Small, medium-sized, big. People just want to hear, I'm sorry, I was wrong. What can we do to fix this moving forward? And those are the three things that I've find myself most concerned with, is because I don't want to end up like the UK. What I see is we're going to do the same thing as the UK. All Antifa over there are just like, yeah, we're going to create this Unitarian society, and we're going to have all these Muslims come in, and the Muslims are like, the fuck we are. We can't afford to do that here.
Well, I think the idea of interviewing former Antifa and making that information available is very noble. I think that it is, you're absolutely right. It's very hard to find former Antifa members because I have actually interviewed multiple communists on my channel. I cannot find any former Antifa that are really willing to talk to me, or it's very, very difficult as you said. And so it's something that I've kind of put it on the back burner and okay, well, if it happens, it happens. Like I said, I do have people in the chat at least that I know are former Antifa that maybe I've talked to in private that are able to confirm some things. And so that's all fine, well and good. So I think what you're doing is very noble. I think, can I give you some totally unsolicited feedback about what you're walking into?
Absolutely.
You have to be real careful about buying into the love bombing from the conservatives, and you've got to be really careful about what you're listening to on conservative media, because you're going to find, and again, I say this from experience because I went down a very similar path that you did. Not again, I wasn't far left, but I was on the left, and I did have that coming out moment, and I did get the love bombing, and I did get all that stuff. So I know exactly how great it is, and you're right, it's fucking awesome. when everyone's telling you nice things all the time, like, and you're getting all this positive feedback, and you know it may be happening at the same time that you're losing friends and family who are still leftists and stuff like that. It's fucking awesome. It feels really good. But I think what I have found out, because I've been doing this for almost 6 years now, is that the conservatives have just as many problems as the left does. Their mindset, in many ways, this is not all of them, but some of them, is just as cultish as the left. And they are very prone to creating bullshit narratives and then cherry picking evidence that backs up their narrative while ignoring evidence that does not back up their narrative. And I think in many respects, the people that I see that consume a lot of like right-leaning media, they tend to be pretty unhinged from reality in terms of like what the left is actually doing, what the left believes, all that stuff. And that's why I harp so much on my channel. And you're more than welcome. If you want to help like figuring this stuff out, I've got a whole community of people that will help you figure this out. And I know that we'd be more than happy to do that, because the only thing that we look at on this channel is primary source evidence directly from the left itself. And so we're going just directly to the source. We aren't having anyone filter it for us. We aren't taking anyone else's opinion. And so I think that if I were you, I would start like getting in the habit of, don't listen to the commentators and pundits, because every single one of them is saying something that they're getting paid to say, and they will be committed to that narrative because they're getting paid to say it. Just go right to the evidence, and the evidence just doesn't lie.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate that, especially what you said about the love bombing and the cult-like thinking, because I mean, everything you just kind of described, that's what Antifa did. Oh, you're running away from the conservatives. Oh, you're running away from bigotry and hatred. Oh, we love you. Come here. So it's like, yeah, I could see it happening on both sides. So I really appreciate that bit of advice.
Yeah. And they tried to do it to me too in Portland, because I don't know if you know this, but I was assaulted by 2 MAGA people in Portland because I was wearing black. And so they assumed that I was Antifa. And so they saw fit to like start screaming at me and then assaulted me. And so when that happened, Antifa saw it and they started trying to cozy up to me. And they were like, oh, Karlyn, you're more safe with us than you are with them and all that stuff. And so, yeah, I think that that both sides do it. And that's why I've kind of taken the approach that I'm not on either side. I'm on no one's team. I'm extremely far right. I'm actually kind of curious what you said about the far right people in your comments, because I am one of those far right people. So I don't know. I'm curious about your thoughts about that.
I love the far right people. Like, I may not be far right. I just consider myself a more moderate conservative, I guess. But no, there's some people that they go off in the channel, and it's like I'll put a music video at the beginning and end of most of my videos, or a movie clip. And then a lot of people, they just can't get past the music video, and then they just freak the hell out. They think I'm on about something else that I'm not about. And then you'll just get these like unintelligible comments that it's either someone can't spell or they're drunk just firing off their fingertips. But I've also got a lot of people from like, you know, like the Proud Boys. I have Nazis on my channel. I have white separatists on my channel. And a lot of them, they're actually very kind. I interviewed a white separatist recently. I was able to interview a white separatist before I was able to interview a former Antifa member. And you know what? By the end of that podcast, I called him my friend, and I would not call him a Nazi, because there is a difference. There are nuances to these conversations, and I would rather make friends than enemies. It doesn't mean I have to sell my soul. Like, it's funny you're sitting here like, because you're like, I'd always heard that you called yourself a fascist. Maybe I can ask you that while we're in person. Is that like an actual label that you take on for yourself?
Yeah. No, I'm deadly serious. Okay, so in my heart of hearts, I'm an anarcho-capitalist, in that I am an anarchist. I do want to abolish the government, because I think the government is just a giant waste of money that just screws everything up and makes things more difficult. Or at least I want to make it as minimal as possible. And so that's like my ideal world, but I still want private property. I'm not a communist. I do not believe in collectivism or any of that, and I want to guard my private property with very big guns or cannons if I want to. And so that's my ideal in my heart of hearts, in my anarcho, capitalist utopia. And I live in New Hampshire, so I happen to be around a lot of these people, which bodes well for me. But the thing of it is I've become convinced, because I was involved with Libertarian Party politics for a couple years. I've become convinced that the Libertarian Party is absolutely hopeless. They're never going to get their shit together. They had a real opportunity that they wasted a couple years ago, and it's just like I've just seen enough of that environment to know that beautiful philosophy is never actually going to work in the real world because they cannot get their shit together to save their life. And so what I mean when I say I'm a fascist is that I think that we are going to have a choice in this country. I think we are either going to be fascist or communist. I think it's going to be one or the other. And the reality is if we look in through the course of history, fascism is really the only thing that's ever been able to stop communism. And so is fascism my ideal state? Well, no. I think that there's a lot of potentially problematic things that could happen with that as well. But I think that if we find the right fascist, I think that could be a good start. Now, does such a thing exist? Certainly, we can have that debate. But what I will say is I am very open to the idea of completely obfuscating the Constitution on a couple key areas with the left. I am very open to the idea of banning the publication of queer Marxism or anything related to the abolition of gender. I am very open to the idea of literally dragging every single queer book out of every library, school libraries, public libraries, Library of Congress, and burning them in a giant ass bonfire. I am very open to the idea of people going into their local library and stealing queer books and sending them to me so I can burn them in a giant ass bonfire. I'm very open to the idea of putting teachers in jail if they teach kids gender ideology or they teach kids that gender does not exist. I'm very open to the idea of a complete moratorium on all publications and all presentations related to these issues, because I think that queer Marxism is the thing that's going to kill us. I think that teaching kids that gender is not real, which is going to lead to the eventual abolition of the nuclear family, that's the thing that's going to actually kill us. And that is the long, slow death of this country. And so if I have to choose between communism, which I think is going to lead to everyone starving, or fascism, which may not be ideal, but probably will be a better scenario than communism, I have to choose fascism. And so am I completely serious when I say I'm a fascist? I mean, kind of. Sometimes I can be very fascist, but really that's kind of my thought process on it. What do you think?
That is an incredibly interesting take. And I mean, hey, if that's your take and that's your belief, I've spent enough time screaming at people, calling them fascist and Nazis and all that. Like, I ain't going to sit here and do that to you. But what I do wonder is, like, you don't think there's some sort of third option? There's no escape route that has to be one of the two? Because, like, at that point, aren't we playing the same dualistic thinking as Republican, Democrat, Antifa, fascist? Like, it just kind of, do you not see hope for any other kind of third option?
Not in the entire course of human history has any other option worked to stop communism. I mean, can you give me an example of, like, so the reason, I mean, do you, like, okay, so again, I'm not like an apologist for Hitler. I'm not an apologist for the Nazis at all. Obviously, Hitler was the worst person that ever lived. The Nazis were awful. They killed lots of people, all that stuff, all that's bad. But the fact of the matter is that Hitler stopped communism in Germany through fascism. And that's and we've seen other things, like, I mean, Pinochet was throwing them off of helicopters. Like, it's like the only time that anyone has actually stopped communism dead in its tracks was something that resembled fascism. And so, do I think there's a third option? I mean, maybe propose it. I don't know. But, like, and certainly I'd be open to any sort of idea. I'm also open to the idea of, like, a monarchy. I actually like the idea of a monarchy. Maybe that would work. But I do think in order to stop the far left, it is going to necessitate the complete, like, outlawing of their ideology to a certain extent. And, like, I mean, like, a really big crackdown on people being able to put these options out there. Oh, but actually, this might be an important, like, a good clarification. Third option, you mean a third pillar? Maybe.
What do you mean by that?
I don't know. We'll have to ask him. Well, if Boss Bully Boy wants to clarify what he means by that, he's more than welcome to put it in the chat. But what do you think that third option could be?
I don't know what it could be, quite frankly. You know, I used to be very anti-capitalistic. Capitalism's not perfect. I think it's one of the better options we got now. I really don't know. I'm personally hoping for the day that Jesus Christ comes back in a couple months, so we don't got to worry about this crap. But I also have to worry about immediate reality. But what I wonder about the fascistic thing, it's like, don't you think that kind of, like, and again, I'm not, like, shaming your views or anything, like.
Yeah, that's okay. Like that. I don't mind answering questions.
You know, it just almost kind of feels like, to me, when you're saying that, it's kind of like when the communists say, like, oh, yeah, that was bad, and all these people starved and died, but this time we're going to do it right. Like, how do you see what you're saying in regards to fascism is different from that? Just, like, genuine curiosity.
Oh no, I mean, I fully believe that in a fascist regime, a lot of people would die, just as like a communist regime, a lot of people would die. But I think overall, the end result of fascism would lead to a better society, in which more people can thrive and more people can be happy. And again, we're talking about the choice between communism and fascism. I'm not the biggest fan of capitalism in the world. I think that capitalism does have a lot of problems, but overall, in our society right now, with our, people might say we don't have free market capitalism. That's fine, but like in our society right now, there's more opportunity than there has ever been to start a small business, to use free tools on the internet or AI, or really like any number of very, very low cost things to start a small business, start one side hustle. You can start several side hustles if you want. You can build a lot of personal wealth just using free tools on the internet if you're smart about it and you're strategic and stuff like that. And so I personally think that I would prefer to continue, like in my in my ideal world, I would prefer to continue with kind of the model we have, continuing to reduce the size of government as much as we possibly can. If I'm being like uber pragmatic about it, with something that I actually think is going to happen, because I don't think we're going to end up in a fascist dictatorship anytime soon. I think there's a much bigger chance that the communists are going to try to overthrow the federal government in the next 10 to 15 years than the fascists are going to try to do anything. I don't think that's going to happen. So it's kind of like, when I'm saying I would not be opposed to like a fascist like society, it's because you're putting me in a choice of like, do I want communism or fascism? Well, fascism if I had to choose, but it's not also like my personal ideal state.
That's
Does that
such
make
an
sense?
no, it's an interesting perspective. And for everybody out there thinking I'm a Nazi for sitting here listening to you, fuck off. But like, no, it is an interesting perspective.
Well,
And when you bring up the idea of dictatorship, would your idea of a future fascistic America, would that involve a dictator? And if so, what do you think that person should be like?
I would be perfectly fine under the dictatorship of King Nick Fuentes. If I'm being honest about it, I think that he would do a great job. I nominate Nick for future fascist dictator. But again, it really does goes back to like, who is the dictator? Like who is what they're like, what are their values? What type of society are they trying to create? So I think it kind of like all depends on who the person is.
Have there been any historical examples of a good fascistic dictator?
People don't want to hear this, but like people were pretty happy in Hitler's Germany. If I'm being honest about it, if you actually go back and look, like the people of Germany were pretty happy under some of the changes that Hitler made. So although again, Hitler was obviously the worst person that ever lived, he's burning in hell, 10 million Jews died in the Holocaust, all that stuff. But like, I mean, in regards to like the people of Germany and what they experienced after he took power, things were a lot better for them than they were prior to him taking power.
Oh, well, I have disagreements on some of it. I do agree with the fact that the Germans did view Hitler as a hero figure. I think even
Yeah.
Carl Jung had a discussion on that at one point. It's like, whether we like it or not, he was champion. And I will say, like, again, fuck Hitler. I'm not about Nazism. I'll talk to white separatist, far right figures all day. I don't care. I want to make friends with everybody. But I will say, I've listened to some of Hitler's speeches because I do the AI translated. There are some things in there to where if you could imagine yourself being in a scenario at that time, how that would be enticing to you. Now, me looking back and knowing what happened after all that, I'm just like, personally, no, I'm good. But I think what I'm hearing when you're saying that is really, this country is struggling. It's been pushed to the fucking brink. And you're just looking for something like substantive in a world that seems to lack substance and nuance and control or coherency, accountability. And I think that's human. So, like, I get that. I don't agree with the ideology. May the best man win. May the best ideas play out in the end. But at the same time, it's just like, there's also just kind of a sadness listening to you talk about it. And again, I don't mean this in any judgmental way, but it's like when I hear people saying that, it feels like all we're given are two fucking options. All the time. It's just like, we all have this idea. We just got this or we got this. South Park said it best. We got the douche or the turd sandwich. I feel like it's the same thing with communism and fascism. It's like either way, we're both, someone's getting shat on. Like, I don't know. I just wish that society hadn't got to this point where we constantly have to feel like there's two options for freaking everything. But, while I don't agree with your values and your views on that, like, I can respect it and I can say I can understand it.
Yeah, I mean, well, the thing is, like, I actually do think the far left is going to try to overthrow the federal government violently in the next 10 to 15 years. And I think once they do it, I think they're actually going to win because I think the right has no effing clue what's going on and they are completely unprepared for what's coming. I also think the Democrats have no clue what's going on and they're completely prepared for what's coming. And I've heard enough far left groups talk about this, like explicitly talk about this, that I think that something is actually going to happen. So again, it's like at some point we have to, you know, at least this is how I look at it, we have to hinge into reality, and we can't live in this state of like, here is my ideal and I will settle for nothing less than my ideal. Like, hard decisions are going to have to be made, and I think that there is a reality that we are going to face where we are going to either, I don't think the Civil War is red versus blue. I think that all that's bullshit. I think it's radical revolutionary socialist and communist versus the federal government, and then we're really going to have some like some decisions to make then. And so I think that that sometimes adults have to make decisions from two less than ideal options. And again, like, I'm perfectly fine keeping capitalism. I have no issue with, well, I mean, I should say I have very few issues with capitalism, because under capitalism I can have as many businesses as I want, and under capitalism I can make my own money, and I have my house, and I don't have people coming to take it, and I don't have people trying to abolish parental rights, which is something the left, you know, wants to do, or any of these things. Under fascism, I mean, like, let's just say that Nick Fuentes ends up as king of the world or whatever. Like, he's a Catholic. I'm not a Catholic. I don't particularly want to be a Catholic, and that might be really inconvenient to me if he mandated Catholicism as the required faith or whatever. Not that I think he would actually do that, but I mean, a fascist dictator could potentially do that. But again, if I have to choose between communism, which I think is going to lead to all of us starving, or pretending to be a Catholic under the future dictatorship of King Fuentes, then I'm going to choose pretending to be a Catholic. Like, at least you get to go to church and listen to beautiful music. And so that's kind of how I think about it is, you know, adults sometimes have to make adult decisions, and we don't always get a pony, and unicorns don't even exist. And sometimes we have to choose between two less than ideal options. So that's how I see it.
Well, I certainly have a lot of disagreements, but that's a pretty damn interesting perspective. Like I said, doesn't mean I have to agree with everything, but I mean, it's good for thought. I mean, this is why we're supposed to talk to each other, to get the nuance of how we're actually fucking feeling about this shit.
Totally. I would recommend that you also check out like, well, I guess there's a lot of things that you could check out, but the documentary I'm going to recommend specifically is not Europa: The Last Battle, for people who keep putting it in the chat. I'm not going to recommend people start with Europa. Europa's 12 hours long, but I would recommend that you check something out called The Greatest Story Never Told, and just watch it and just consider the ideas. And again, you don't have to agree with it, but that's where I started with some people on my channel when I was first starting to think about these ideas, and I think it's probably a pretty good place to start because there's a lot of unraveling to do, as you know.
I can already tell people are watching this freaking the hell out, thinking I'm getting radicalized right now.
No, I mean, well, like, but here's the thing. It's like, so when Antifa outside of Portland said to me, "You're a fascist," I said, "Yeah." If they call me a Nazi, I go, yeah. If they call me a racist, I go, yeah. And it's not necessarily that I'm like very pro-fascism or Nazism or racism or any of these things, although I certainly do have my moments. But like, it's more that, like, so what, they say that we're radicalized, so that what they say we're extremists. They can say whatever they want. People lie on the internet all the time. And it's kind of like you take the power out of the words when you just say, yeah, okay, whatever. It doesn't matter to me what you call me. It doesn't matter to me what label you put on me. And quite frankly, it doesn't matter what you think of me. And so it is what it is. So that's kind of how I see it.
And I mean, I've done the same thing, even though I don't really have fascistic sympathies. Like, I've done the same thing. Yeah, I'm a fascist. Yeah, here's a Zeke Heil for you. Like, piss off. Like, yep. What's the best you can do is throw it back in their face.
Exactly. Well, Ty, I do want to thank you for coming on here today. Is there anything else you want to make sure we chat about before we wrap up?
I can't really think of anything. I just want to say thank you for having me on. Thank you for challenging me a little bit on some of this, and, you know, for giving me the space to speak. And I just want to say, if you do have any former Antifa members that are watching this, even if your friend would like to come on, you know, so maybe I can give them a face-to-face apology and be able to hash some of that out. Like, I want to be able to host these conversations. Yes, again, I'm a little minnow. Wasn't as big. Didn't know what a zine was till about an hour ago. Like, but I want to learn, because those 2 years of my life took so much from me. They took my mental health. They took my physical health. It took my family. It took my friends. And I really believe in my heart of hearts that the best way to fight Antifa is to have other former Antifa members speak out. And I even want to say to you or anybody who might be listening, if, I know you guys like bicker back and forth, but if you were Tim Pool or Andy No or any of these people that are like actually interested in Antifa, want to learn about Antifa, invite former Antifa members onto your channel. I think that's going to be the best way we can fight this, because otherwise there's going to be legions of Antifa brats in the comment section using all their cult mantras. We're not an organization. We're not real. You can't actually belong to us. But once people start stepping up and that floodgate is opened and people start saying, this is my experience, this is what I saw with my own 2 eyes, this is what I did, these are the crimes I committed, this is everything, that takes the ammunition away from them. So I just want to put that out to any other former Antifa members who may be listening, like, speak out, because now is the time, and quite frankly, the law is on our side. You might have to confess some things that you did that weren't so great, but that's going to have to be the price, I feel like, guys like me and girls like me, not girls like me, but the guys and ladies of Antifa, this is the price to pay. Like, it's our time to step forward. Otherwise, they're just going to steamroll everything and everybody. And at the end of the day, they're not that powerful. They're a bunch of fucking dweebs. We could take them on.
Well, I want to definitely thank you for that. And I think that, definitely if they're former Antifa members listening, I would encourage them to speak out. I would encourage them to go on your channel and have a chat about it. And I'd encourage you to come back here and see some of the evidence that we have. And maybe that'll help you, as you're working through all of the different things that happened, to be able to make sense of some of the things that you saw that you didn't understand at the time. And so definitely want to invite you to come back here. We would love to have you. And I hope you don't feel like I was too harsh on calling things out.
I loved it.
Yeah, okay, good.
I knew like talking to you was going to be fiery, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a great day.
Well, I hope it was okay, because I did appreciate the fact that you're willing to come and talk to us and have the conversation. And like I said, certainly I think you've experienced something on the far left. I'm not quite sure what it was exactly, because there's as you know, there's a lot of different chaos on the far left. But I think that all experience is interesting, and we do definitely appreciate you having your channel and talking about these issues and stuff like that, because more people talking about these issues is always better. So guys, I do want to encourage everyone, make sure you check out the Triple B Collective. I did pin the link to the top of the chat if you would like to do that. And Ty, are there any other places that people can find you online?
Hell no, fuck social media. YouTube's all you got.
well, be careful. Make sure you're backing up your videos someplace, because you never know what could happen. Start a Rumble channel or something. You can stream to both at the same time, so it works out well. So guys, I appreciate it. And Ty, I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to do a little wrap up with my audience. Is that cool? I'm just going to, the super chats are mostly not related to you. So I was just kind of like, hey, came off that camera. I don't want to, keep you here for the super chat part, but I do want to acknowledge those people. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. So just go ahead and hop off now then.
Yeah, just hop off, and we'll see you later. And I appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Peace and love, you guys. Thanks for having me.
Have a good one.
White people hate me, they say that I'm using my privilege for evil, I get it, hey. Black people hate me, they say that I'm racist, my feelings don't match with their message, whoa. Feminists hate me because I believe that their movement is angry and sexist, whew. My girlfriend hates me and I don't know why, but I love her, whatever, forget it, yeah. And gay people hate me cause when I see something I don't like, I say that it's gay. Straight people hate me for having the balls to go say what they think, and that makes them afraid. Dumb people hate me for making the music containing the truth to expose all the ways. The government robs them, the pop culture kills them, the rappers convince them to ruin their brain. Go ahead and say all of that wild online, man. You might need a Dr. Phil if you catch me outside, and I will not apologize if you ain't one of mine, fam. I could not afford to give a if it was finance. They been hating, I think it's stupid funny. Haters, fake friends, making me stupid money. They been hating, making me famous. Keep hating, you're wasting all of your energy on me. Everyone hates me for something or makes something up when they hate me for nothing. They claim I'm a Satanist, Hitler's my cousin. I beat up a kid, I killed Bambi while hunting. Hey, I heard he's Illuminati. Hey, I heard he's related to Trump. Whoa, I heard he's reptilian probably. Hey, I heard he kills kittens for fun. All lies, all lies, all lies. Y'all fall, I rise. Yeah, y'all phony tough and I'm blowing up, and that's your fault, not mine. Yeah. Everybody hates me, and I only know cause I read it. And I'd hate y'all too if that bothered me, but honestly I don't let it, yeah. Go ahead and say all of that wild online, man. You might need a Dr. Phil if you catch me outside, and I will not apologize if you ain't one of mine, fam. I could not afford to give a if it was finance. They been hating, I think it's stupid funny. Haters, fake friends, making me stupid money. They've been hating, making me famous. Keep hating, you're wasting all of your energy on me. Y'all wasting energy, y'all look just like enemies. Only goal is stopping mine, y'all gonna need some better dreams. I've been on the grind, looks like y'all been on your knees. Talking while you're online, hating who you'll never be. Y'all are 35, acting like you're 17. Working late at 9 to 5s, jealous I just rap and sleep. You're angry at your life, got a job, forgot to leave. Now you're growing older in the only town you'll ever see. They've been hating, I think it's stupid funny. Haters, fake friends, making me stupid money. They've been hating, making me famous. Keep hating, you're wasting all of your energy on me. They've been hating, I think it's stupid funny. Haters, fake friends, making me stupid money. They've been hating, making me famous. Keep hating, you're wasting all of your energy on me.